Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Green Arrow FPL podcast from Fantasy Football Hub as we come out of game week 16 and look ahead to the festive period, which includes no less than 3 game weeks, 17, 18, and 19. My name is Fergi, and as you can see, I'm very pleased to be joined by not one, but two co-hosts today, thanks to a last-minute addition. But firstly, welcome to the brilliant Rich Clarke. Rich, how are you? And what colour was your arrow in game week 16?
Hi, Fergie. Hi, everybody. I'm good, thank you. Wildcarded last week and got another big green arrow. So want to pass on my thanks to Adam, first of all, for coming back again for a second time, but also for giving me some advice on the pod last week on a couple of fronts. And even in the chat, right now, we were looking at my draft and I had Kieran Dewsbury Hall in the team, and the chat was very bullish on Wilson. Harry Wilson, and I thought about that afterwards and stuck him in, and he duly returned a 16-pointer on Saturday night. And if I'd taken Adam's advice, I wouldn't have gone for Matty Cash, who duly returned 0 points when I played him against West Ham, and I'd have probably gone for Canate like he remembered, and that would have got me another 9. So the advice that I get on here is very, very good. However, I'm extremely pleased with 89 and half my rank, so happy days.
Absolutely flying, Mitch. 13k, and if I'm right in thinking, you wildcarded last week, so you've also got 5 transfers in hand. Is that right?
Yeah.
So just to be clear, for every week now for the rest of the season, while I'm scraping by with my 1 transfers and taking the odd -4, you're swimming in transfers, and you've got the option to do 1, 2, 3, even save. Even do you know what Fergie can do this week? I'm taking a -8. I might just burn one, Fergie, if I'm being honest. I might just burn a transfer.
I know.
This week, so,
I was saying before we went on, it'd be nice to give your friend a transfer for Christmas. It'd be a nice feature, wouldn't it, for next year to be able to pass on a transfer if you don't need to use it. But hey ho. But no, happy days.
Need the violin music playing there with you talking about your lack of transfers.
We'll get onto my team in a bit. There's not much to shout about. But Rich, your Christmas jumper is looking good as well. Made a quick dash out earlier, didn't you? And
yes, mate.
Looking apart. Well done.
Thank you, buddy.
Also, fresh from a wonderful performance last week, we have the brilliant Adam Hopcroft. I haven't said that for a while. He's passed a late fitness test and decided to join us for our Christmas special. Welcome, Adam. Great to see you. How are you? And what colour was your arrow in game week 16?
Oh, I'm great. And thanks for having me back. Another green arrow. And it was relatively last minute. I think the Bruno score knocked it up a little bit as well. So going strong, well in the top 200k. And I've got triple captain active this week. So need Haaland to find some home form. That's... until I play my wild card, and I seem to get some momentum then. So, and then I've just been relatively consistent from that point. Haven't had many like brilliant game weeks, but I haven't had equally. My team's relatively template, so I've not had any horrific, terrible game weeks either.
Well, it's great to see you, mate. There was some great feedback on the comments last week. I was in Prague last week, sat at a bar. And a nice romantic festive breakaway, watching YouTube on my phone, watching you pair of ugly mugs chatting about all your green arrows and your high ranks and your swimming in transfers. So, got that.
But you were looking at the wrong type of markets, weren't you, last week? Everyone was playing the transfer markets, and you were looking at Christmas markets.
I was looking at the hot dogs and the chimneys in Prague, wasn't I? But no, I got a bit excited at one point, and you know how I play the game. I'll think of something sensible at the start of the week, and then as the week goes on, I'm thinking, no. And I was really, really tired. A couple of transfers. I wanted to use the transfers to try and catapult me up a little bit rather than use 3 or 4, still stay behind the curve. You've missed that, Adam, haven't you? My kind of behind the curve, ahead of the jab. But I ended up somehow using all 5 transfers, but still having Dubravka, Petrovic, Enzo, Mukiele, Rodon, and Mark Gui in my team, which is quite a feat. But I did bring in Bruno Fernandes, which I wasn't going to, and I think it was FPL Harry actually on X. I was having a quick look, and he talked about the merits of selling Mbeumo for Bruno, which I hadn't really thought of. But he made a couple of really good points that if Mbeumo didn't play, I wouldn't have any United cover at all. There was like a 0.3 or 0.4 swing in terms of price over the weekend as well. I just thought that was my 5th transfer actually, so I'm pretty glad that I did that, because I would have been way behind the curve had I not have done that in every.
Which other players did you bring in?
I brought in O'Reilly, who I should have probably brought in instead of Maxim de Kuiper in Game Week 15. But I brought in O'Reilly. He got the 6 points. I brought in Anderson, who I kind of missed all season. And every week, it seems, when I'm looking at Rich's team, it's like, Anderson, another 10 points. So I got in Anderson. Obviously, didn't do much last week, but I'm pleased to have him. I haven't had many DEFCON monsters this season. I'm always very jealous of when I see, Tarkowski and Anderson smashing the DEFCONs every week. So I'm glad I got him in. I brought in Soberslay. Obviously, it didn't work out. He's a bit of a punt, but I thought he was a good punt. Home match against Brighton. 3 of the 4 were at home. Obviously, he's an injury risk this week, but then they do have the back-to-back home games against Wolves and Leeds. I brought in Thiago for Mateta as well. Which again, it didn't work out, but it got me onto the template. And I think they were the 5. Will they have mentioned 5 there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So they were the 5. So I haven't managed to transform my team into anything different, other than I've kind of, I'm up with the template really. But the big issue I'm going to have, and I've got to stop doing this. So my problem is I'm always comparing myself against players like you two, whereas I'm not competing with you two, and that's what I need to get into my head. I need to stop trying chasing the your 13k and 130k ranks. Play my own game and crack on.
Yeah, and it's that point. I think it's so easy if you go on X or any of the other apps when you comparing against other people. Obviously, comparison is the thief of joy, as they say, but everyone's starting in a different point. So you're not starting from an equal footing each game week. So comparing to what other moves other people are doing is pretty pointless. So Rich, for example, is in a unique position, strong squad, 5 transfers. What he's looking to do, really, if he's going to be comparing, he needs to look at teams that are in a similar position to himself to just check on any ideas and play it through. But yeah, it's you see it a lot of the time, people comparing, and then that's what leads to -4 and making loads of transfers, because you're just jealous of other people's teams. That's I think we've all been there.
Yeah, it is. The only player I've got in my starting 11 this week, which I'm not too happy with, is Enzo. But he's played the last 3 games, in the 6th role, which obviously, it doesn't suit him in terms of his position, or or in terms of him, scoring FPL points. So he'll be moved forward now because the ban is done for Caicedo. So Enzo will be up in the 8 again, which is good. So it's not a bad pick. He's just not been that exciting. I do have a transfer this week. Currently thinking probably again it's be a template move, Enzo to Semenyo, but I'll have a rock solid 11 there and look ahead to next week then. But we will see. We will see as the evening pans out. We've got the spaffometer out, Rich, for your wild card, and
we can be quite quick with this, hopefully. I mean, we don't think we need to dilly-dally over. I'm quite happy to just have a fireball and move on, mate.
And what, a fourth fireball of 4?
4 out of 4. I think to be honest,
that is incredible.
Yeah, I'm asking for that because I do feel I saw a pod earlier with Oscar on it, who's also going well. He was on Black Box last night, and he was asked to explain why he's got such a high rank. I think it's something like 17k, and he's just said he's timed the chips well.
Yeah,
and I think I have timed the chips well. Funnily enough, I think I almost was unique in wildcarding last week. It was almost like it went under the radar because everyone got 5 transfers. I think you asked me a couple of weeks ago, didn't you? Said
I asked you, Rich.
I didn't understand the rationale.
Yeah. And here we are. You're in the best position of all.
It was a great week to wildcard with the price changes.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, I think I had pretty poor team value, and now it's just all been taken care of in 1 week. I think it put on 1.5 to 2 million in
no way
team value in a week.
There you go. There's a lesson. It's a lesson for next year if they do the chips.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
suppose we won't have the 5 transfers next year necessarily, but it's it's still useful data, isn't it, for the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So pretty happy if you don't want to argue with it, Fergie. I'm quite happy.
There's no arguments off me. How can I stand here and argue? And no, all good, all good, mate. We will go for a smash. Four smashes, absolutely flying. And what will this be? Will this be your, if you finish in the top 10K, which I think it's there for you, mate. Would that be is that a 10th?
The 10th.
Wow.
10th top 10K finish, which is absolutely extraordinary. Adam, you've got 8, is that right?
I think it's 7 now, I think, but I'd have to.
It's gone down.
Yeah, it's not gone down.
It was definitely 8 before. It was definitely
I'm on 8 then.
Yeah, it was 8. So you go with 8. So yeah, 18 top 10K finishes between the two of you. 18 between the three of us. No, I've got one. I've got one to add on, but but anyway, we move. And quite apt actually. If you are looking to improve your rank, join Fantasy Football Hub. If you're having a bad season, help is at hand. Come and join over 400,000 managers. Take advantage of our weekly transfer recommendations powered by AI, specifically for your team, by clicking the top link and join in FFH. If you're not currently a member, you can join us, use our tools, recommendations. And if your rank doesn't improve over the Christmas period, you will get next season's membership for absolutely free. Let's take a look then at the lie of the land. The coming 6 game weeks. We are going to focus this pod just on the next 3. So this will take us up to the 2nd of January, and then Rich and I will be back to look at game weeks 20 and 21. So this pod is looking at the 3 weeks as kind of a group of fixtures. Maybe it's nice, Adam, if you could start us off this week on your thoughts on these upcoming 3 sets of fixtures, and the kind of teams you're targeting. Any thoughts on chips or anything else really?
Well, playing my triple captain this week, that's an easy one for me. But yeah, looking at fixtures, I like City's next 3. I know 2 are away, but I think West Ham, Forest, and a weakened Sunderland losing players to AFCON. I think having 3 City, and I think with the spacing, I think I'd be relatively confident in the main guys playing all 3 of those. So like those, I think Arsenal's fixtures are interesting. I think from a defensive point of view, I like them this week. But I think 2 home games, and I think there'll be goals in both the Brighton and Villa game as well. So I like them from a more of an attacking perspective. I think Brentford's fixtures are fine for the next 3. I think having Bournemouth and Spurs at home, Bournemouth not travelling well. Spurs, we don't know what to expect. And obviously Wolves away, which I think is a better fixture than Wolves at home personally, because I think Wolves will go for it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then probably the other 2 teams that are right at the top of the ticker, Liverpool. Although I think I just worried about the some of the injuries that they've been getting, and it taking its toll. And then similar for Palace. I think Palace got reasonable 3 fixtures, but they seem to be going along quite nicely. So yeah, they'll be the ones that I'm interested in at the moment. So yeah.
I think with Palace, didn't the manager say that he was going to rest a few this evening? Because they've got the Carabao quarter-final next week, haven't they? On Tuesday, I think, against Arsenal as well. So away to Leeds, they've got that Arsenal match as well. I can't believe how many fixtures they've had to cram in. They've had 2 games every week for like the last 8 or 9 weeks, and it goes on.
If you just advance it one slide, Fergie, or just go on to the that one there. Look, you can see here. Look, just in that after tonight's game, we've actually got a crimson colour on there for Crystal Palace. They've only got a 1-day gap between their game tonight and their game on Saturday.
They played on Saturday.
Yeah, they're playing on Saturday, not Sunday. So basically, Glasner has come out and said that anyone who starts tonight will not start on Saturday. So we should get a big clue from the lineups. You know that anyone in your normal side, if they're starting tonight, they're not going to start at the weekend. So that's really useful info. But yeah, and then they play Arsenal again on Tuesday. They've still got to get their EFL quarter-final out of the way, which I think they'll go strong for. So yeah, they're really up against it, Palace, for the next few.
Yeah, they are.
I've been really surprised at the lineups that have been put out in the Carabao quarterfinals. I would have thought that a lot of teams would have gone a bit stronger. Chelsea obviously beat Cardiff, but it's fair to say they scraped through. But it was very, very close. City put out a weakened lineup, albeit Brentford without a Thiago who had a knock, and Newcastle shuffled a little bit as well. Obviously made it through in the last minute. But you think when there's a cup up for grabs like that, I'm surprised really that especially the teams that are not in the top sort of 4 or 5 didn't go much stronger, and go for it. Because look what the Cubs did. Look what the Cups did last season for Newcastle and Palace, for the club, their fans, getting into Europe, all this sort of stuff. It's just incredible. But I was surprised. But obviously they know better. They know the fitness of the players. And obviously we've got this incredible crush of fixtures coming out. Just to say, credit to this graphic at Legomane _ FPL. Make sure you drop him a follow if you haven't already. Rich, thoughts on the fixtures and teams? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got the next really this week feels a little bit like a continuance of the fixtures that we've been playing to, but next week marks the next big swing really. So Everton come onto the radar from game week 18, have a really nice run of about 5 or 6 fixtures. So I think we'll be talking more about Everton assets, although they have just lost half their attack to either injury or the Africa Cup of Nations. But Everton defenders, I think, certainly will be being talked about next week. Adam's already mentioned Liverpool, and I agree. West Ham have a really nice run of fixtures coming. They're not right up the top of the ticker, but they have some very nice fixtures from next week. So again, I think if we're looking for perhaps forward options, then Bowen comes onto the agenda there. And then if you go forward to game week 19, which is the third one we're covering this week, then you've got Man United and Newcastle look really good from game week 19. So if you kind of want to think about maybe daisy chaining a few short-term transfers, this kind of jumping from one lily pad to another, it's not ideal fantasy football, because really you want to be bringing a guy in and making the most out of that transfer for 5 or 6 weeks at least. But in this sort of fairly unique set of circumstances, that could be quite a good strategy to just jump on a guy for a couple of weeks, then jump on the guy that plays Wolves and Leeds, and then jump on the next guy that plays Wolves and Leeds. You know what I mean? It's like there are little patterns in the data there that allow you to do that, and really that's what I'm thinking of doing.
You're turning my stomach, Rich, because how next week am I going to bring in Ekatike, Jared Bowen, and James Tarkowski with one free transfer? How am I going to do that? I mean, everyone's going to be bringing in all these players, and I'm going to be stuck with Enzo Fernandez and Joe Rodon. And just in terms, Rich, you wanted to talk about just chips, obviously remaining chips, and maybe the best time to play them before the game week 19 and the cutoff.
Yes, that's right. I mean, fortunately, I'm chipped out now. It feels like the last 3 weeks I've just been playing plugged into the game relentlessly, because I free hitted in game week 13. There was then a midweek set of fixtures in game week 14 that immediately followed that. And then the following weeks, we had game week 13, 14 and 15 in the space of 8 days. And then I was working on my wild card the following week all the way up to last weekend. So I've had 3 ridiculous weeks of playing FPL. And now I actually feel like, I can just concentrate on making one transfer a week, and it feels great. But there are people out there who've got a lot of chips left, or maybe more than one. So we thought we'd maybe talk about that now, about the best of the remaining 3 weeks to play a chip. I think Adam is a great example of someone who's got a triple captain left, and it's almost a no-brainer, isn't it, Adam, to really play that this week on Haaland, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think I said to you last week, I know people are talking maybe about Bruno against Wolves. I just don't trust Bruno in single game week. I think he's a fantastic hold for a long period of time, but he's capable of hauling and doing well in any given game week. But I don't feel that if he's got Burnley at home, it doesn't necessarily guarantee a haul, versus he could have City at home. It doesn't make too much of a difference for him, I don't think. Great avenue to points. Whereas Haaland, you do feel is a bit more flat track bully, and and I think the EO side of it as well. There's a chance to benefit with what say he's 225% EO, so you benefit from 75% of his points, which you're not going to get very often, are you?
Yeah. No, I agree with everything you said. I think if you have got a triple captain, I would use it now on Haaland. You don't know if Bruno's going to be injured for that game. It's the last week. I think the thing I don't really like about game week 19 is it's almost like a blind week because we won't get any press conference information. It's Christmas. The managers won't be talking to the media. So pretty much after Christmas Eve, we won't hear any more from the clubs until just before game week 20. So you're almost playing in the dark, and if you're playing a chip in that week, you want team news. You want team news for a bench boost, maybe. You certainly want team news for a free hit if you're playing it. So I don't really like 19 for chips. If you're someone who's been asleep and you've got 3 chips, you've got a wild card, a bench boost, and a triple captain or some sort of combination of things, then fine, play your triple captain on Bruno in the last week and wild card this week to a bench boost next week or something like that. But I honestly would try and get your major chips out of the way in game week 17 and 18 where there's more certainty than playing in the that sort of fairly blind midweek set of fixtures between Christmas and New Year. That's just my thoughts, really.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
a couple of questions, Adam. Firstly, why haven't you played this chip earlier? We obviously had the Plum home fixture against Leeds in 13, and there's obviously been a couple of other occasions that have been popular.
So I think the really popular one was Burnley at home in game week 6, and it was because I wildcarded that week, and I think, it was just right for my team to wildcard. But of course, I'd have preferred. I would have triple captain Haaland that week. I think the other ones, it's more to do with. It's probably more to do with the. I think 13. I free hit, so there was a reason there, and then the Sunderland game. It was just all to do with rest periods because we knew this week he's had a clear week. He's had a week off. So, and he's got a week off after. So you'd expect 90 minutes for Haaland.
I don't think the Sunderland match is a massively obvious one anyway, is it? I think Burnley.
No.
And this one, West Ham, are obvious. That makes sense. And just a secondary question for the more risky player, I suppose. Are you tempted? Would you? I know it's not your style, but there's an argument to say if you do want to, really make your triple captain potentially pop, is to put it on someone like Foden this week.
Yeah,
has really high potential. I mean, if Haaland scores a goal or two, and when you lose out a little bit on your chip, it's not like you've sort of lost a lot because Foden's 5 or 6 would be double to 10 or 12 anyway. Whereas if Foden pops off and Haaland stays quiet, you could catapult yourself up, massively up the ranks. Any argument there for you or not?
It depends on risk appetite. I think for me, it's a really risky move, and I own Foden anyway. I think I'll benefit from his points in some way. If you don't captain Haaland this week, I think even if you captain him, you're going to be losing about 25% of his points. So if you don't captain him this week, if you don't captain him, you're probably losing up. Was it 125
triple captain chips this week? I think.
Yeah, you're losing 125% of his points. So I can see the logic. I'd be I get it if people want to really really go for it, but I think there's enough upside to just go in Haaland, and it just seems less risky. So for me, it's probably as one of the easiest decisions.
I would go away from the City game if I was going to.
Good point.
I'd go for the Bournemouth game. I'd pick someone in that game and go there, because then you really are going to clean up, because people aren't really looking at that for captaincy. But if you put that on Semenyo or Evan Nielsen or something like that, then you could go crazy. So that's probably
I think for me, I think it's just the consistency of Haaland. I know he's blanked in a few home games, but over the season he's been the most consistent player. So it's hard to look past him, and we know he's got hat tricks in these types of games before. So I think it's hard to look past personally.
Did you captain Saka in the end last week?
I did, yeah.
Did you, Fergie?
Yes, yeah.
So we all three of us went on Saka, and I think we ended up losing out, even though we got an 11-pointer captain. We lost out to a 13-point away 2-goal haul from Haaland at Palace. Wasn't fancied for that game and still returned a brace away from home. So, it's really hard to go against him any week. But last week was probably the week to do it. I could possibly see myself doing it in 19. I might punt on Bruno against Haaland in 19 because it's Wolves. That might be the next time I take it on. But until then, I think you just got to play it safe.
I think a lot will do that.
Yeah. We've got some potentially breaking news in the chat off a reputable source. I think FPL Pickle says Thiago out for 4 weeks.
Oh my goodness!
So yeah, we may have to. That could change.
To hold that transfer, Fergie.
I can't. I need to make a transfer. I'll have only had 10. Otherwise, I'll be playing Joe Rodon. We'll have a look. So let's
goodness.
Let's have a look at that. That is gonna that could
shake
change
the game up.
Goodness me! Straight to Bowen against Man City. We will see. Thanks for that, FPL Pickle, if that is correct. Rich, do you want to talk us through some transfer targets for game week?
Yeah, we've split this into two because of the aforementioned fixture swing in game week 18 and 19. So we've actually got 10 players to talk through on this bumper show. So if you have been asleep for the last week, then you probably missed a certain young man called Harry Wilson, who's in the form of his life for Fulham. Fortunately for me, he got 16 points on Wildcard. He's the new Phil Foden of the transfer markets. He's up by 0.4 million in a week. I think he may rise again before the weekend, but he's still only 5.6 million right now. Plays Forest at home, West Ham away, I think, in the next 2. Then it gets a little bit more tricky. So one of the things we should discuss is really, is it too late? Have we missed his points after he's also returned 8 what did he get last week? 8, 10 and 16 or something in the last 4 games. Fantastic returns, almost Foden-esque in his performance. Will it continue or have we missed it? Are you interested in bringing him in, either of you guys?
Fergie?
I think he's missed it for me, just because I haven't got the transfers to be able to afford to mess around for a 1-week punt or not. And I know he is in fantastic form, but I think for me, he's gone too far. But I did contemplate him last week, but again, it was because I was using all my transfers. I have to think of sort of longer. Every pick I make has to be sort of 3, 4, 5 weeks, and I didn't really think that of Wilson. But how about you, Adam?
I think the fixtures are getting a little bit tougher, but I've seen a lot of people be quite dismissive of Wilson this week. And I think there's a big change this season versus other seasons. And I think it's to do with the amount of minutes he's playing and not being injured. So I just brought it up here now. So last season, he played 1,150 minutes. He's only 43 minutes off playing that this season.
We're not even halfway.
the season before that, he played 1,500 minutes. The season before that, he played 1,000 minutes. So I don't think we've ever seen Wilson fit playing consistently for a long period of time. And if you look at it, he got 6 goals, 1 assist last season, 4 goals, 6 assists the season before. A couple of seasons ago, he got 7 goals. So I think the question would be is if he's having that continuity of minutes, he's on set piece, he's got good routes to points. Yeah. And I feel he's probably quite talismanic of that Fulham side. So I think in terms of, I actually quite like him as a longer term pick. And I think if he stays fit, he'll do well over the season. I think the thing that he's got a great cross on him, but also his finishing ability is unbelievable. I'm just having a quick look at his I checked it the other day, but he's got 20 in the Premier League, 24 goals, and this is from Understats. So of course there's other places for XG, and his XG is just under 15. So you can see he's a bit like, I suppose, with the type of goals he scores, if he has a free shot from in and around the edge of the box, technically he's superb. So I think in terms of the timing, it's not brilliant, But I do think he is. I don't think it's. If he stays fit, I don't think it's just like a snapping up. I don't think it's a short. Necessarily he's just going to score a few points and sail off into the sunset. I think if he stays fit, he could easily end up on something like 10 goals, 6 assists, or something along those lines, and actually be quite good at his price. So yeah, I think he's an option, and probably his minutes will go up given how many players Fulham have had go to AFCON as well.
I think. I think maybe. I think maybe I've dismissed. I've dismissed Wilson a bit just because I had my eye on Dewsbury Hall for that, for the price point at game week 18, and because maybe I was so fixated on that, maybe I didn't look at Wilson. Just to confirm that we haven't really seen anywhere yet about the Thiago out for 4 weeks, so please don't anyone make any transfers or anything on that note yet. We can't.
Did you transfer him out, Fergie, in the last couple of minutes?
I did, yeah. I brought in Mark Gui. No, I've got him already. I brought in Keenan Davis.
Yes, Keenan.
Anyway, we will keep our eye out on Thiago news. In terms of players for this week, we've covered Wilson. There's a couple of obviously Bournemouth home to Burnley is a great fixture, and Man City home to West Ham as well. A couple of players that come definitely on my mind. Cherki looks like an absolute baller, even in game week 1. I don't know if you guys remember far back as game week 1. I think Man City beat Wolves from like 4-1, and Cherki scored a wonderful goal. I think he got injured close after that, and now he's come back from injury. He looks a player, and with Doku injured and and things, he may get a run on the side. I think it's a superb option. And there's a few more you got here as well, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably now with most sides having Foden and Haaland in them, you're now looking at your third City asset to get any sort of gains out of a City performance now, and really O'Reilly is on here because I think he was still under 10% owned overall in the game coming into this week. I don't think he will be at the end of this week now, but Nico O'Reilly now looks really nailed for City in the left back position. He probably was before Aït-Nouri went to AFCON, but for the next 4 or 5 weeks, doesn't really look like he's got much competition for starting in that left back role. So you've really got a decision to make. Do you want to go all out? You'll see Cherki on a lot of free hits this week, so quite a lot of people spending free hits, and they will probably go triple City attack because there's so many nice cheap defensive options available. You don't necessarily need to have O'Reilly in a free hit, but if you want a long-term pick, I'd still probably would rather have 2 attackers, one defender. But I do like Cherki, and I think he's becoming more nailed in that team, and good enough to warrant being picked for FPL. But if we swing across to the other side, we've got most of the content this week has all been about temporarily loading back up on Bournemouth. So it's do you. Some people have kept Semenyo. They've had him all the way through. He was certainly the darling of your team at the beginning of the season, Fergie. Your first transfer of the season was Semenyo. You jumped on him early and you shot into the top 100k as a result. And I think the way the content's been written this week is nailed on for at least a brace. This weekend it can't. Nothing else apart from that can happen, can it? So Semenyo, let's discuss. Is it worth bringing him in? Have you got him already?
Yeah.
You go, Adam. You go.
I was going to say I made the move. I did Enzo to Semenyo.
Yeah.
I like Tavernier, and I was considering him before the Man United game. The reason I've gone Semenyo, I think I've heard a content creator say it this week, but I thought it as well prior to that, was which player is most likely to get a hat trick. So I've just gone purely for the upside because I might only have him 1 week as well. I might move him on next week, and it's Semenyo. I think he served me well. I remember the last game of last season, so I've got a bit of sentimentality there against poor sides. So at home, so yeah, I've got him. Of course, he could blank. He might end up getting his 5th yellow card, but I think he's on the verge, potentially a verge of a big money move somewhere as well. So yeah,
in the shop window, isn't he?
I'm all in on Semenyo this week, and it
Is that
seems like the least risky as well.
Is that the last game of the season when Rich bought him and benched him? Was it that?
Yes, that's right. He's not. He's a player that's not. Some players, it just never works out having them in your team, and that's. I bought him on the last week of the season. I had 2 free transfers and spent a lot of agony getting 2 free transfers for Gameweek 38. Got Semenyo and Saka in, but I was waiting till the deadline to see if Saka was going to start, and I was so focused on Saka that I benched Semenyo, and he pulled a 16-pointer on the last day of the season, and I missed out on the points, even though I'd bought him with my transfer. So basically, it's just not worked out so far, really. And I'm also very late on him this year, and only sold him, I think, at the beginning of last week. So I probably will bring him in just to cover it off for a couple of weeks.
For Declan Rice, or
yeah, probably. It's just a shield pick, really. There's nothing wrong with Declan Rice. It's a long-term pick, but he's that sort of player, and I've heard this said elsewhere as well. He's that sort of player that every week you want to go after someone else, and you think, well, I could lose Declan Rice. You know, I've got to make room for Gabriel coming back, so here's an opportunity to free up a spot and go with only 2.
I get that. I get what you're saying there with that sort of player.
I think if I was doing a 1-week punt, I think Fergie as a punt would definitely go on Cherky this week. I should add the punt I've gone for is for 3 weeks, but I fancy Cherky, and if I was free hitting this week, I would. I think I would go Haaland, Foden, and Cherky as a really exciting 3 against that West Ham team.
I think Cherky's a brilliant player. The one thing I think over the festive period as we're coming into it that's in my mind at the moment is there's going to be a lot of rotation. I think what Rich said about team news as well. I'm a little bit nervous. We're not going to get. So I think just buying players that are going to play 90. I was looking at it actually. So prior to coming on, I was looking at some of the players that have played 90 minutes and or have played the most minutes this season. So you think they're most secure. So as you can imagine, a lot of them are centre backs. So I think there's a real good strategy of going 4 or 5 at the back over Christmas. So Vandenberg, Tarkowski, Virgil, Lacroix, Milenkovic.
Got none of them.
And Anderson from Forest even. So that they've all played every minute of every game. I think when you look at the what's more interesting though, because you'd probably expect that when you look at the midfielders that we're interested, and I've only picked the ones we're interested in who are fancy options and forwards. There aren't many forwards outside of Bowen and Haaland. I think Thiago's had decent minutes this season, and actually Mateta has surprisingly. But if you go, then the list does. There are quite big gaps, and you'd think there's doubts over Thiago. We think he'll get rest. Mateta's carrying an injury, so you're probably only looking at Haaland and Bowen that you could trust to play the majority of the minutes over Christmas. The midfielders, I think there's some really solid ones in there. Elliot Anderson is a boring pick, but he's played every minute this season, so he's probably quite a good one if you have just to keep. Bruno Fernandes has played good minutes. Morgan Rogers, Soboslai, Minte, Semenyo, Rice. So I think, and actually Enzo Fernandez, who we've mentioned as well. So I think targeting the players that are going to play a lot of minutes is really, really helpful. The other thing is the stat I heard, and I've checked it since, but a third of goals. I think this was on above average, and it seems but about a third of goals come in the last 20 minutes. So if you've only got someone like, so take Ekatike, for example.
Yeah, good show.
He got cramp after 60 minutes versus Brighton. So what are the chances of him playing more than 70 minutes, 3 game weeks in short with small gaps? Yeah. If you're getting cramp at 60 minutes, I'm not convinced that you're going to be able to play too many 90s. So if a third of the goals are coming in the last 20 minutes, there's huge. If you look at the likes of how many times have we seen in the past Salah getting last minute goals, Bruno, those sorts of players. So I just think over Christmas there tend to be less goals in December. I just think it's a minutes play, and I think the centre backs are going to be quite good for that. And then just picking your really, really reliable players.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Good Good stuff. Let's have a look at the players ahead of 18-19. We just mentioned a few of them there, Adam. Ekitike, obviously, Liverpool are away this week to Spurs, then home to Wolves and Leeds. On paper, those fixtures are insane.
Those two fixtures, I totally agree with Adam on what he's just said about Ekitike. But if he scores against Spurs this week, they will be an enormous bandwagon over Christmas. Pretty much people will start using the rest of their transfer banks to get him in. It's 8.6, probably going to go up at least one more time before the weekend. So that's 8.7. Very expensive. But Wolves and Leeds at home in successive games doesn't get any better than that, does it? Really?
No, it's going to be hard to get, especially if you haven't got another Liverpool attacker. That's part of the reason why I went for Szoboszlai, is because even if I couldn't get to Ekitike, I want a bit of it, or I want some kind of skin in the game in those matches. Bowen, we touched on. You guys are pretty high on Bowen, Rich.
Yeah, I think so. I think Bowen fixtures look great for West Ham. Talisman pick, to Adam's point, will play every minute of every game. He's not on penalties if Paquetá's on the pitch, but he's such a reliable player and the sort of player you want over Christmas, because you just know he'll start every game regardless of how many days there are between fixtures. So I do like him, and I think West Ham could do with a bit more form and a bit more goal output from West Ham, but they are better than they were a month ago. And
the penalties thing, not being on penalties, you're probably right. But there's a couple of things. Paquetá, I think, missed he's missed a couple for Brazil recently. And have they had? I don't know if they have or haven't. Have they had a penalty since the new managers come in? Because I've seen it before where managers have changed penalty takers. So I'm sure you're right, but it wouldn't shock me if Bowen took the next penalty. It wouldn't. I wouldn't be, because I've seen managers change penalty takers before. I think I'm pretty sure Moyes did it when he was, or someone did it with West Ham. They made like James Ward-Prowse penalty taker over someone like, it might have been Paquetá. I can't remember who it was, but it seemed like quite a strange choice. So I don't think it's 100% set in stone. But I think you are right. He has taken them this season, so there's no real evidence to suggest otherwise. But yeah, I like Bowen. I think it's a really good pick.
There's a couple of other picks. Bruno Guimaraes for Newcastle. Is that Michael Keane there at the back?
Yeah, Michael Keane. I think you could have Keane or Tarkowski. Keane's a very good price. So again, when we're looking around for money next week to enable and maybe making combinations of transfers, I think I prefer Keane to Tarkowski. Tarkowski would be another really good one to bring in, but he is 5.5 mil.
I did see
Keane's 4.6. Back mid-January.
Back on the grass. He's back on grass, isn't he? So, but yeah,
you might get half a dozen fixtures out of Keane, but I think that's enough to be able to bring him in for that run. And he may be one that I go for next week, not this week, which is why he's on the 18 and 19 chart. Bruno G's on 4 yellows, a bit like a few others. So you've got to watch out for a suspension there, but he'll either get that and be clear by game week 19 when Newcastle's fixtures really pick up. Newcastle have just called on this a little bit after putting him on the chart yesterday, because they've got some defensive problems now, haven't they? Newcastle with injuries. Livramento went off last night.
Hull's got a knock as well. Burn.
Yeah. So they might struggle despite the fixtures. So they're one to keep an eye on. But he is a homer, and I think the reason that we've sort of held off on the advice of getting Bruno was they had 3 out of 4 away. But then when you get to game week 19, they have a lot of nice home fixtures again, and I think you'll see him doing really well once you get past game week 19. But probably rather than Bruno G, if I can afford it, I'll go for the guy in the foreground, which is Cunha. Now, Adam, I'll let you talk about Cunha, because you've been very unlucky this season with your couple of ownerships of Cunha, haven't you? So
it's more in Bremo. I've known Cunha yet, but I
didn't you bring him in early on? And
no, I think a few people did though. I like Cunha, and I think he's starting to find his feet. It's just the thing that we need to wait on, and I think we've got a great opportunity to see the weekend, is how do United do without Mbeumo and Ahmad? And that, I think they lose a lot of threat in behind, and they obviously losing their whole right-hand side. So it could be he steps up and they need somebody who can progress the ball and take shots from the edge of the box. But I'm not sure yet. I think it's perfect. I even think the Newcastle game you could wait and then go in on for the Wolves game.
FPL Freddie's made a good shout. Saka to Cunha and Thiago to Ekitike could be popular in game week 18 when those fixtures really swing, couldn't they? So I like Cunha. He's had, I mean, statistically, his underlying stats for sort of number of shots and things are absolutely insane, aren't they? And he's been incredibly unfortunate. And he had a few shots. I remember the start of the season. I think it was game week 2 or game week 3. He had something like 4 shots on target, and the keeper was pulling out worldies and all this stuff. I think there will be a point, definitely in one game and over a period of games soon, where we're going to see some huge returns off him. So he's very much on my radar for sure. Let's have a look at some predicted points for the next 3 to 4 games over this period. Haaland, unsurprisingly, right out on top. Foden, Bruno. I was quite cool on Bruno a few weeks ago. I had a bit of a laugh about him just being a DEFCON monster, but I think United have improved. I think Bruno's been playing further up the pitch.
He hasn't got any DEFCONs for the last 3 or 4.
He hasn't got DEFCONs. He's just had goals and assists. But he's I think it's fair to say United has turned a corner. He's played a bit further forward. And that free kick he scored was outstanding. Cunha is really high in this as well, 22.9. Saka 22. Rice is still high up there, Rich. So what are you thinking of taking out 21? Ekitike, Semenyo, O'Reilly, really, really popular picks. Kanate on 20. Palmer is back up there on 20 as well. We haven't talked about him for a long time. Bruno Guimaraes, as we just said. Virgil, Thiago, and then Trossard and Enzo as well. I think Cunha is probably the one who kind of hits high there, really, in terms of being fourth on that list. 23 point, nearly joint with Foden and Bruno. So, but again, it's fixture timing with him as well in it. So, United.
What do you guys think about Saka? Because we mentioned it last week. We did say that we could see that move, people potentially downgrading after the Wolves. What are you guys thinking of Saka for over the Christmas period?
Honestly, safe hold. Haven't really contemplated moving him on. I think if Palmer gets fit and firing and able to play 3 games in a week again, and there's no issue with his injury, it's tempting to, maybe move Saka to Palmer from game week 22 onwards when Chelsea's run is unbelievable. Until then, I'm happy to hold him through Christmas. He's one of my favourite fantasy players. I think he's Arsenal's best player and plays for the best team. So I'm not going to overthink that one. I think if you really are convinced on Ekitike and you want to downgrade, I mean, you can go to Rice, can't you, to generate the money to get an Ekitike. You can still have some Arsenal attacking coverage, but I would just hold Saka. I'm more likely to lose Rice than Saka out of that team. I'm not selling him anytime soon, but I am seeing people talk about it.
I think it's his price point as well, because there's no premium mids now. If you drop his price point and you go to a Cunha, for example, and get a Ekitike, but the game has changed in terms of the using the chips in the first half, using the first wildcard, later AFCON transfers. It's maybe not as scary as it used to be. It was all about get that price point because it's going to take it's going to take at least 2 transfers to get him back. But now people have got 2 transfers to get him back, so maybe that point is maybe becoming quite moot in terms of it doesn't matter as much anymore, because normally we just wouldn't, would we? Like normally you just wouldn't drop that premium position in midfield, but maybe you can now. But I would it's funny, Adam, because you messaged us, didn't you, about his goal and assist record, his assist record, and since then he's been banging them in. But he's one of those players like Arsenal, as much as I hate to say it, are just a machine at the moment, aren't they? They're just grinding out these wins. He's always involved. We think he's still on penalties, and it just feels like if you take him out, you'd be taking him out for chasing more upside. But then Saka in his own right is just a wonderful, fantastic player in FPL. It feels like it feels like forcing it. I think. What are your thoughts, Adam? Are you tempted?
I can see the merits of doing it because you can get 2 players effectively and improve 2 positions. However, I've only owned him for the game week just gone all season, and there was a few game weeks where I didn't own him where he just looks so threatening. I feel he's building momentum, and he's actually been quite consistent in terms of points over the last 6 weeks. Even if he hasn't returned, he's snuck in a DEFCON, or he might have got an assist and clean sheet. And against Wolves, and I thought it was the same against Villa. Like, they were just, every time they got the ball to him, he just looks so dangerous. So yeah, it is a tough one because I think on the flip side, you're probably not going to captain him, and that's where I think you can do the move where you go to a couple. But the other thing is, he's been consistent. I think I think we're going to see him step up in the next few weeks. I can just, like, in terms of his actual number of goals. Yeah. He's just been on the periphery for 5 or 6 weeks, and he seems to be getting better and better and better. So I could see he hasn't really hauled yet this season. I think he's got maybe a 12-pointer, but he's not. I think there's a few hauls to come, and I think the fixtures. I don't really like the Everton one. I think that'll be a tight, maybe 1-0 Arsenal. But I think the Brighton and Villa game, I think there's goals there for Saka. And that's where that'd be the ones that we'd sell him for. And I don't know is the answer in short. The good thing is we don't need to make the decision this week. I think with the entry points of maybe Bowen and Ekitike, for example, away at Spurs, away at City, it gives us another week of information. And obviously we get to see Saka again. So I think that's useful.
Good stuff. Let's have a look at the best free hit team for game week 17. Just a quick run through. Petrovic in goal at home to Burnley. So it's triple Bournemouth with Petrovic, Senesi and Semenyo. Unsurprising there. A triple Man City. Unsurprising there with O'Reilly, Foden and Haaland. I think I would go Cherky instead of O'Reilly personally, just on a free hit. Free hit week. Gahey away to Leeds. Van Heck home to Sunderland. This is a 4-5-1. You don't see that very often. And then another midfield 3 of Bruno, Rice, and Cunha away to Villa. Cunha already in there, 7.9. Let's have a look at his. I'm just gonna have a quick look at his stats.
I'm quite surprised at that. Away to Villa, it's a tough game for United. The algorithm's gone for that. I mean, are you surprised at that, Ad? You're going to the game, presumably.
And our home record is insane. I mean, what have we lost? 1 in 30. So, and United will be weaker. They haven't got Casemiro either, who I actually think's done all right this year. Yeah. So no Casemiro, no, missing the AFCON guys. I think it's just the unknown. We don't know what to expect from United. I mean, they've been good in attack generally, but I think Villa win the game personally.
I think Cunha, the last 2 games, it's obviously not massive sample size indicator, but he's definitely going to be playing a lot more now. XG of 0.65 and 0.79 in the last 2 games. XA of 0.56 and 0.24 as well. He's going to get more minutes as long as he's fit. If he's going to play focal point for the team moving forwards, I like him. I agree. I'm not saying Villa away. I don't think Villa away, but after that for sure. And a quick look at the wildcard team, which is very, very similar. Petrovic, Dubravka, O'Reilly, Senesi, Rodon, Virgil, Esteve, Foden, Semenyo, Bruno, Cunha, Rice, Haaland, Ekitike makes the wildcard team, and Mark Guia. Just going to have a quick look at Liverpool because there's a question about Isak's minutes as well. So currently we've got Ekitike's minutes set for 77. Isak is flagged, and he's on like 50 minutes for this week and then 67. So I think it's the Ekitike 77 minutes ongoing for the next few weeks, which is why Ekitike makes it in. But you got to apply your own layer of discretion on this as well. And you're absolutely right, Adam, is that he's probably not going to play all 3 games. Things like, getting the cramp and noticing that's not something the AI can pick up, right, or models. That's where you overlay your own football knowledge, eye test, and discretion on top of it. So, it's a really good good point.
The AI's dropped Saka and gone for Rice instead for Arsenal cover. No Arsenal defender on the wild card either. And
it doesn't like it for the next 5.
Quite a cheap defense, isn't it? There's no timber. There's no no expensive keeper. It's got Rodon and Estev. So it always goes cheap on the bench. But that's very cheap, isn't it? Rodon, Estev, and Goo bench.
The way I look at this now, I'm thinking about what you potentially can do with your team. I think a lot will lose Saka next week. That's my prediction. I said it a few weeks back, but I think that's what will happen. I think people, unless he puts on a masterclass away at Everton, then it might get people thinking. But I think I can just see spreading the funds, strengthening the bench. Putting more.
It's nice to have this week now, isn't it? To have a further think. You get a lot more information. There could be an injury elsewhere in your team, which provides an opportunity to have both players and all this sort of thing. Or Isak could have another knock or whatever else. We will see.
And I think even if TR goes out, I think it's still best to wait a week if you can, because if you look at it, Ekitike, Bowen both have better fixtures next week. So you might as well get the extra information. I think could be invaluable.
I agree. Fergie is a punt between Gameweek 17 and 19. I've already said I would pick Cherky for a 1-week punt for Gameweek 17. I really like him as a player. I liked him before he joined City. I think after Gameweek 1, when I watched City destroy Wolves, I said Cherky's going to be one of the players of the season. Man City are going to win the league. And that looked a bit crazy a few weeks later, but I still think both of those things could potentially come true as the season progresses. Every time I watch Cherky, I don't know if you got it. I think if you look at his underlying stats and just look at data and stuff, it's not sort of massively impressive. But when you watch it, the way he collects the ball, his turn of foot, his cute little passes, and everything else, he looks an absolute baller. So we will see. I've gone for a bit of a boring one actually. I didn't realize this guy would be so popular between Gameweek 17 and 19, but I've mentioned him a few times already. And I think this player, maybe not for this week in particular, because they do have a tougher game, but over the next 3 games, I think Matheus Cunha is gonna smash it. He's only got 2 goals and 1 assist so far this season. He's had 40. How can you have 41 shots and only 2 goals? He's had 23 shots in the box. 4 xG, 1.5 XA, and he just looks the part. His underlying stats of the last few games since he's been sort of back in the team have been really good. He looks so dangerous. He's so quick. He's such a good footballer. He's proven in the Premier League, as we've already seen. Cunha for me over these next 3. He will be in my team. Maybe not this week. Probably the week after. Maybe the week after that. It's gonna be interesting to see if they got is it Newcastle next week? They've got
they've got 2 home games in a row.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Newcastle's defence this week against Chelsea. They're home to Chelsea, but and I'm quite tempted. This is one of the reasons why I'm tempted to keep Enzo, is because looking at Newcastle's defence now, I was having a quick look at it earlier because I was having a look at the X-Mins, and according to this, so they've got Shah. Hall looks like he's got a knock. Burns out for 6 weeks. Chow is fit. Botman's had a knock. Trippier is out. Livramento looks like he could be out. Lascelles is out. Kraft is out. And they haven't got hardly anyone else. So
Miley at right back, aren't they?
Yeah, this is it. So this is why I'm potentially tempted to just hold on to Enzo this week, and I may go a week early on Cunha next week if you get to see again how Newcastle perform. With that, really bad defense. I don't think Newcastle have got a game midweek, which is going to help them actually go into this run. But interesting stuff. And then we move on to Rich against the machine.
Slightly different bias this, but I lost last week. Declan Rice against Wolves was my shout, and he got a 2-pointer. Didn't Arsenal really didn't deliver in that game. We were expecting a huge supremacy win. They're very lucky to get the win right at the end. Late Wolves equaliser shocked us all. But yeah, this week I've gone for a 3-week look at the stats, and I think over 3 weeks that this guy's going to beat the expected points. 13.9 expected points for Jarrod Bowen over the next 3 fixtures. So although he's playing City tomorrow, I still think he'll get a chance tomorrow and could well score. And then the two fixtures after that, Fulham at home and Brighton at home to follow that. I think that Bowen will beat 13.9 expected points against those 3 fixtures. He's only got to get 4.5, 5 points a game to do that, and I think he'll do that. There's a couple of goals in there. So yeah, my pick for beating the algorithm this time is Jarrod Bowen.
Very nice. And then away to Wolves after that. So he's not just a sort of short-term pick either. He's not just a Christmas pick, is he either? So,
yeah, and with the doubts around Thiago, I think I prefer him to Ekitike. I think he's more affordable to bring in without busting up the team, and hopefully I can get there with a bit of defensive reorganisation and bring him in for Thiago next week. I quite fancy that as my game week 18 transfer too.
Good stuff. I like the comments in the chat. At YGO Wales says, "I'm keeping Enzo. Ramsdale dives in slow motion." I like that one. Looking at the captaincy for game week 17, I mean, there's no point in talking much about this. It's going to be Haaland. There's no point in even talking about. We've also discussed the merits of the triple captain as well. If it's Adam, obviously very, very bullish, and he also explained the reasons why he's gone for this week instead of others. So we won't touch on that. We've got market odds for game week 17. Unsurprisingly, Man City top 2.96. Predicted to score 3 goals. This is going to be interesting weekend for City assets. They're joint top for clean sheets with Arsenal, 42% chance each of a clean sheet. In terms of goals, Bournemouth are second, 2.15. We touched on Bournemouth assets earlier. I think Adam, your dog agrees with the Bournemouth picks, and Brighton home to Sunderland 1.91 as well, actually, and also a decent chance of a clean sheet. Maybe I should have held on to Kuiper. James Thompson says Haaland's blanked the last 2 home games. You still can't back against him though, can you? So
he's not going to do blank 3 in a row, is he? So
he's absolutely not, especially not against West Ham. Just to look at the captaincy quickly for game week 18 and 19. Rich, what are your thoughts on the captaincy for game week 18?
Yeah, game week 19 I think is easier. Who've City got in game week 18?
Let's have a look.
Forest away.
I still probably look at Haaland in game week 18. I think that's quite a nice fixture for City. Forest aren't really scaring people. I know they won 3-0 last time out, but I think they're still finding their feet a bit, and I think City will win that one. So I think I'd probably go with Haaland in 18. Might be tempted to go Ekitike if I brought him in, and he's looking really good. It's a fantastic fixture for Liverpool at home to Wolves. So if they, a lot depends on whether or not they turn Tottenham over well. That could be any result, couldn't it? That Tottenham Liverpool game this weekend. So wait and see on that one. But Ekitike, if you want to go against it next week. But Bruno Fernandes in game week 19 for me would be and is quite tempting. Again, it's targeting the Wolves fixture. So if you just target the Wolves fixture every week, we all did it last week with Saka, and we got away with it. We weren't sure whether we were going to get either of those 2 assists, but we got them, and it turned out okay. I think targeting Wolves, targeting Burnley with transfers, targeting both those teams with captaincy seems to be working well at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Adam, any different thoughts on 18 or 19?
I think I'll stick with Haaland in 18 unless he gives me a reason not to. I think there are some other options though. Saka at home to Brighton. I think that's a good fixture personally. And Bruno at home to Newcastle. We just talked about their depleted defence. I think both are good options. Ekitike has been mentioned. So I think there's you can go against Haaland. He's been quite consistent away from home recently though. And so I think, I I'm not 100% on Haaland for that week, and equally for game week 19. I think 19 Bruno again. I don't know if I trust captaining Bruno. That would be the only thing, because I think that Wolves game as well. We've just seen what they did away at Arsenal, sitting very, very deep, making it quite difficult. United typically struggle with that approach. Yeah. So, whereas would you be surprised? I mean, the thing is, would you be surprised if Haaland got a brace away at Forest or away at Sunderland? Probably not.
No.
So,
he did. He done this week against Palace, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He finds a way every time, didn't he? Yeah, I agree. I think I'll go for Bruno in 19.
I think a lot will.
I do agree with your point, but I think Wolves just, it just look awful. They just look really bad. But I do agree with the point when you guys made earlier that Wolves away looks a better fixture than at home, because the amount of space that United were getting on the break against Wolves was absolutely crazy. One thing United are good at doing is attacking on the break, isn't it? Which they did very, very successfully.
Yeah. Interesting. So interesting. So do you think the fixture this week with Brentford then away at Wolves? Would you play your Brentford defender at Wolves this week?
Yeah,
100%.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I think Wolves attacking wise are off with very little, so they've got to be up there for clean sheets. Probable defcons. I think it depends. Well, it depends who you're playing them instead of. What are your options? Or should we save you?
You'll see in a minute.
Let's save for your
teams,
then.
But
yeah.
But at the moment he's not in.
Bellegarde and Manetzi are not there for Wolves either, are they? Injured,
of course, yeah.
As well. So yeah. Okay, good stuff. Rich, let's have a look at your team. You want to talk us through your team?
Right.
And
here we go. Yeah, I've got a few benching dilemmas this week. I have a post wildcard team, so not much to change at the moment. I've got Sanchez in goal away to Newcastle, O'Reilly, Timber, and Anderson on the sheet at the moment. Although we'll talk about who to play out of the three defenders in a minute. Very strong midfield. This is with an anticipated transfer of Semenyo tonight coming in for Declan Rice. I asked Scott to do this because I was 90% certain I was going to do it. So midfield of Foden, Semenyo, Fernandes, Saka, and Wilson. Really like the look of that coming into this week. And then Haaland and Thiago template up front. So my bench at the moment is Vandenberg of Brentford, Cash of Villa, who I was up until last week I was quite happy to play against United, and Mark Gu. So if I haven't made my transfer yet, but if I didn't get Semenyo in, I would probably look to correct the error of having Matty Cash in a bit too early, and I might go Cash to Konate this week and just put that on the bench in anticipation of the two home games to come. It's playing a week in advance rather than burning the transfer and keep Declan Rice away to Everton. So that is still an option for me. But I think I'm going to go Semenyo just to cover the upside and cover the risk against people in the same tier. And that's probably what I'll do. So I just have the benching dilemma of Anderson versus Vandenberg, really.
I'd swap them round, I think.
Yeah.
So I think Brentford are more likely to keep a clean sheet. Fulham defending recently it hasn't been great. No, and they've been conceding 2+ on a number of occasions. I think out of the two, definitely. I even think I'd potentially put Cash in front of Anderson. I think Villa are good at home. We're not conceding much at home either. So yeah, that's probably what I would do. But
yeah, so it's not an issue if Thiago doesn't make it for me.
No, not at all.
Injured, I'll just play 4-4-2 or even 4-4-1. So that's fine. It's just a little bit of a benching headache. So I'll think about that. But it's a nice problem to have, isn't it? Just sort of like everybody's playable. So yeah, I'll just probably just make one transfer and go into next week with the 5.
Very nice, Rich. Very nice indeed. Adam, got your team. Your Thiago is flagged. No, Rich's wasn't for some reason.
That's just Rich's luck this season, isn't it?
Scott did it earlier. Yeah,
he gets 20 minutes. He does.
Yeah, he gets his Thiago plays. Probably gets a pen as well. Yeah, so my team. I think he's picked the optimal team based on her. So I've got at the moment. I've got Rare in goal. Happy with. Think they've got a decent chance of a clean sheet. O'Reilly, who I bought in last week, again happy with. Senesi is good for this one. It's showing Anderson, but I'll come on to that in a second. Midfield, Foden, Saka, Bruno. I've bought in, it's not shown on there. I've actually taken out Enzo and bought in Semenyo. And then I've got Elliot Anderson. And then up front, Haaland and Thiago. And my first couple on the bench is Keane and who else have we got? Virgil, yeah. So I'm starting Virgil away at Spurs. So that's I can just see I can see him scoring at some point, and good for DEFCONs. I think they've tightened up. Spurs attack on up too much, so I'm definitely starting O'Reilly, Senesi, and Van Dijk. My big decision this week is which Anderson to start. Do I go for and I don't think there's much in it. I think they're both circa 4 points. So do I go for the midfielder? He'll probably finish on 4 points. Or do I go for the defender? And it's just, I think if I think Forest will score less than 1 goal or less, I'll go for the Fulham defender. But they've been shipping 2 goals a lot recently, so it easily becomes a 2 or even a 1 pointer if he gets booked. So that's my only worry there. And what's the upside for Elliot Anderson? Not loads, but yeah, it's I don't think it's. I might end up having both of them,
probably
and I'll take 4.
I'd probably just go 4-4-2. It's not much in it, but I'd probably put Elliot Anderson first bench.
That's what I'm thinking.
Go 4-4-2, mate.
Yeah, and I think from an ownership perspective, it'll protect me where I'm not 100% sure, and I don't feel strongly either way. I think from an ownership perspective, a lot will have Anderson playing this week, won't they? The Fulham one, not the Forest one. And I think the Forest one's a good bench player over Christmas anyway. So happy with him. And of course, triple captain on Haaland.
Yeah,
I can't even think about playing Elliot Anderson. I just nailed 4 points. Really, I know he's got an outside chance of an attacking return. I don't think he's had hardly any this season, but at least with the other Anderson, you've got some chance of some upside with a floor of 2
I think he's got a goal. Joachim Anderson's got a goal in him this season. He will score this season.
He's got more chance than Elliot Anderson of scoring, I think.
You know what's going to happen? It'll be 18 points from Elliot Anderson.
It will.
And he won't hit DEFCON that week either.
He's due.
Yeah, he's due. He'll do. Yeah. I think that's probably where I'm going to go 4-4-2. And I think the plan over Christmas, I think going big at the back, or there's a lot of defenders that will do well over Christmas. Yep. I think the midfield options are drying up a little bit, particularly if Dewsbury Hall's out. And there isn't much. I mean, you mentioned Cunha, I agree with that, but there isn't much to get excited by. And then I'll have 3 free transfers next week, and I may sell Saka and upgrade a striker. I may just bring Cunha in, but I'd need to make another move. So yeah, it's I don't know yet because there's so many if buts and maybes as to what could happen this game week.
Good stuff. And a quick look at my team. The optimal team is currently showing 4-4-2, but that's because Soboslai is currently flagged. Hoping he'll be okay. But I've got Petrovic, O'Reilly, Timber, and Anderson. Foden, Bruno, Saka. I've currently got Enzo. I would have Enzo and Soboslai, and then Haaland and Thiago. Is showing Rodon home to Palace ahead of Soboslai because of Soboslai's flag. As a Spurs fan, so I think Soboslai has done pretty well against Spurs in recent seasons. So I think I'll be playing him if he's fit. I remember when it was at the 6-3 last year. I think he got assist and 2 goals. I mean, I think he's scored against them since as well. So my only concern, obviously, is with all their injuries, whether he plays, at right back, which obviously stunts all that. But I think I'm happy to keep him ahead of Wolves and Leeds. See how it plays out this week. Happy to play him this week against Spurs because of his record. See how it plays out with Wolves and Leeds. So I've only got the one transfer. Enzo to Semenyo, same as Adam, feels feels the right move, and it gets me a good team for this week, when I can be excited about. The problem is, if I use that transfer this week and go into next week, with potentially wanting up to 3 players with only 1 transfer, I think I'll definitely want an Everton defender. Potentially looking at, if Isak starts and Ekitike's on the bench and comes on and scores, you just think,
Fergie, I think you wait for the presser on Szoboszlai. If that's positive, I think you should roll. I think Enzo is fine to play at Newcastle.
I think he is. But again,
I think it's fine.
But it's the same as you, Rich. I won't have Semenyo. If Semenyo kicks off already, I want to.
This is it. There's a lot of Semenyo FOMO out there, and
I think in your position, I'd roll as well, because I think Enzo, after this week, has got Villa, and he's got another home game, hasn't he? It might be Bournemouth. He's playing 90 minutes pretty much in every.
Yeah. Oh no, he does. He does. Yeah, he does.
And he'll have some penalty share, and Casado's back. I think of a 3-game week option that could help save you transfers. But I do get the FOMO for Semenyo, but
it's very different. It's very different. If you got 4, like Adam, we got 4 or 5 transfers. Like we can obviously get Semenyo because there's no risk to us. But you've got 1 move, mate. You have to think differently, I think, and just use it very wisely. There's nothing. If Szoboszlai is confirmed out, I think that might sway it. But if he's going to play against Spurs, he could haul. He could be on pens. He could be. He could be great. He could have a lovely midfield.
Yeah.
So
agree.
I'd take it on.
I will have a think.
Yeah.
But as usual, what happens in FPL is I'll have a think of bringing Semenyo. No, what happens in FPL is at 10:30 on a Saturday. I lose my discipline, and I get all this fire in my belly and wherever else, and I just and before I can climb down, I'm up on the roof setting the house on fire. So but it is what it is. But that is it for us for this week and this year. Actually, I think this is our last pod of 2025. So firstly, I just want to thank everyone who's watched us this week, but watches us every single week, and thanks to everyone who's joined in the chat, as you always do. We got the most loyal following, absolutely brilliant in terms of the people in the chat, those who watch the videos, those who listen to the podcast version, the feedback we get. It really does mean the world to us, and we really, really appreciate it. Thanks to Scott, who has joined us this season, and has made a massive difference to the quality of the production, and indeed, our time in terms of all the prep he does. Everything in the background is in our, he's in our ear, sort of telling us stuff and keeping us informed. He runs all the tech, he does all the slides, he does everything. I just turn up now and chat, which for me, after 6 years of doing everything, is an absolute godsend. So thank you, Scott. And hopefully that sort of quality has made its way onto the screen, onto the listeners and watchers as well. Thanks to you, Rich, as usual. Another year under our belt as we move into 2026. So I was only thinking, I was chatting with Will a few weeks ago, and I think we started this obviously with Adam in, I think it was 2019, and it's hard to believe
2019 was when I started working for the Hub.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's all been going on for like 6 or 7 years. Absolutely amazing, crazy. Isn't it? But yeah, thank you, Rich, as usual, for wonderful year of FPL insight and entertainment, and this year especially, the quality of which you're playing the game absolutely sets the highest standard for all players and content creators alike. Everyone will be watching your progress in the second half of the season. And thanks to Adam, absolutely fantastic to have you back, Adam. Little less hair than when you started in 2019, but absolutely great to have you back. You give a real unique insight and spin on on the game, which is very unique in the FPL content creation community. And hopefully we can have you back on sometime towards the end of the season. You are welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
And Rich, where can people get hold of you?
At Rich Clarke FPL on X.
Great stuff. And Adam, where can people get hold of you?
On X at Hop to Stats.
Good stuff. And I am on X at FFH_Fergi. This podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please press the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast. Leave us 5 stars and a comment. Would be much appreciated. We will be back on the 2nd of January, looking ahead to game weeks 20 and 21. In the meantime, we wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and may all your arrows be green. Good night all.